Sorry, teacher, but are you crying? Eduardo blinked and realized that Julia, his 12-year-old student, was right. Tears were streaming down his face as she showed him her math test with a 9.5 grade, the first good grade of her life. At 32 years old, a civil engineer, Eduardo never imagined he would be sitting at a simple kitchen table, teaching fractions to a girl the school had given up on, and discovering that this was the happiest moment of the last 10 years of his life. Especially because, in exactly 47 minutes, he needed to be downtown to sign the marketing director contract that would take him away from that side gig as a private tutor forever. It's just, you remind me why I started doing this, he said, wiping his eyes and trying not to seem crazy to a 12-year-old child. 2 years ago, when he was laid off due to cost cuts at the construction company, Eduardo thought his life was over. Engineer, MBA, career plan since age 18, everything destroyed in a 15-minute meeting. Giving private classes was desperation, not vocation. But something strange happened. Each child who clicked with a difficult problem, each teenager who passed the entrance exam, each thank you teacher made him feel something that no million-dollar project had ever caused: purpose. "Teacher, are you going to stop teaching?" asked Julia, with that disturbing intuition that only children have. The words in the morning devotional echoed in Eduardo's mind. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." Jeremiah 29, verse 11. What if the future and hope wasn't what he had planned? What if God had other thoughts about success? Eduardo looked at the clock, then at Julia, then at the piles of graded tests on the table. In 47 minutes, he would sign a contract for $18,000 per month, or make the craziest and perhaps most right decision of his life. "Julia, I need to tell you something," Eduardo said, pulling up a chair to be at her height. "When I was your age, my math teacher asked me a question that changed my life." She looked at him curiously, still holding the test like a trophy. He asked, "Eduardo, what do you want to be when you grow up?" I said, "Rich." He laughed and said, "I didn't ask what you want to have. I asked who you want to be." Eduardo picked up his phone and called Marcelo, his best friend since college and now pastor of a small church. "Mark, I need you here. Now, I have a decision to make, and I can't do it alone." 20 minutes later, Marcelo arrived with 2 cups of coffee from a bakery and that smile Eduardo had known since they were 18. "Let me guess, the heart wants one thing, the wallet wants another?" "It's more complicated than that." Eduardo showed him the contract that had arrived by email. $18,000 per month, Mark. I can buy an apartment, a new car, have the life I always planned. But you discovered who you really are in these 2 years, right? Eduardo nodded. "Remember when we studied Ecclesiastes in college? Better is a handful with quietness than both hands full with toil and a striving after wind. At the time, I thought Solomon was being dramatic. And now I understand. These 2 years were the poorest and richest of my life at the same time." That afternoon, Eduardo did something he would never have done 2 years ago. Prayed with Marcelo, asking for specific wisdom, not general blessing. He asked for courage to trust that God honors those who honor him, even when it seems financially irresponsible. "Lord," he murmured with closed eyes, "Jeremiah 29 verse 11 says your plan for welfare for me. But what if your plans for welfare don't include a fat bank account? What if the future and hope is different from the future I planned?" At 5:45 p.m., 15 minutes before the deadline, Eduardo called the company. "Good afternoon, this is Eduardo Santos. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity, but I need to decline the proposal. Are you sure? It's a unique opportunity." "I'm sure. Thank you." Then he called the school where Julia studied. "Good afternoon. I'd like to talk about setting up a tutoring program there. I have some ideas and, well, now I have full time to dedicate to it." The proposal to the school had been analyzed and shelved. Parents started canceling private lessons to save money at the end of the year. Eduardo was in line at the bank at 7 a.m. with $127 in his account and the last opportunity, before his name went to the credit bureau. The phone rang. It was Carlos, his former boss at the construction company. Eduardo, you were very stupid refusing that marketing position. But I have something better. Project abroad, Dubai. 2 years, you $8,000 monthly. But you need to start Monday. The offer was real. Luxury apartment included, company car, international health plan. In 2 years, he would return to Brazil a millionaire. But there's a catch, Carlos continued. The project is a casino complex. You'd be supervising construction that, let's say, doesn't really match your new life philosophy. Eduardo didn't sleep that night. He walked around the house, calculating. In 3 days, he wouldn't have money even for bus fare. Julia had sent a drawing through her mother's WhatsApp. Thank you, Teacher Eduardo with color hearts. God, he prayed in the backyard, looking at the stars. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 says your plans for welfare for me. Where's the welfare? I obeyed, refused the first job, chose your ways. Where's the future and hope? Total silence. Only the sound of cars on the avenue and his own irregular breathing. On Friday, Eduardo visited Marcelo at the church. He found his friend preparing soup for homeless people. Mark, I'm thinking about accepting Dubai. Marcelo stopped stirring the pot. Casino complex? It's provision, man. Maybe God wants to use me there, like Joseph in Egypt. Eduardo. Marcelo turned around. With that look Eduardo hated, the look of someone who's going to tell an inconvenient truth. Joseph didn't choose to go to Egypt. You're choosing to go to Dubai. There's a difference between being led by God and leading yourself. Monday, 8 a.m. Eduardo was at the airport, Dubai ticket in hand. Carlos beside him, smiling. Man, you're going to do well. 2 years fly by. His phone vibrated. Message from Julia. Teacher, my mom said you traveled. When are you coming back? I have a surprise to show you. Eduardo looked at the message, then the ticket, then Carlos waiting. For I know the plans I have for you. Carlos, said Eduardo, tearing up the ticket in front of him. I can't go. You've lost your mind. It's the last chance I'm giving you. I know. Eduardo smiled, for the first time in weeks feeling peace in his heart. But someone taught me that it's not about what I want to have, but about who I want to be. As Eduardo walked out of the airport, without money, without a job, but with a clear conscience, his phone rang. Professor Eduardo, this is Dr. Sandra, Pedagogical Director of the Department of Education. We received an interesting proposal about a municipal tutoring program. Your name came to us through a school. Can you come here tomorrow at 9 a.m.? On the other side of town, Julia was showing her mother a letter she had written to City Hall. My teacher taught me that math isn't just numbers. It's about not giving up. The school gave up on me, but he didn't. Other children need him too. The letter had reached the right desk at the right time. 6 months later, Eduardo was in a room he never imagined occupying. General Coordinator of the Education Without Limits program of the municipal department, supervising 47 private tutors in 23 schools in the periphery. The salary was fair, not luxurious. But when Julia called him to see her approval in the technical entrance exam, the first in her family to continue studying, Eduardo completely understood what future and hope meant. Teacher, said Julia, holding the certificate, remember when you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up? I remember. You said important. I changed my mind. Now I want to be like you, someone who makes others discover they are important. At that moment, Eduardo received a call from Carlos. Man, the Dubai project failed. The company went bankrupt due to corruption. You literally escaped a trap. That night, Eduardo knelt in the same backyard where he questioned God's plans. Lord, thank you for not giving me what I asked for, but what I needed. Your thoughts really are for welfare. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 manifested in the complete inversion of perspective. God's plans for welfare included protecting Eduardo from a career that would destroy him spiritually, Dubai, and leading him to his real purpose through the very financial crisis. A 12-year-old child's letter became the divine instrument to open doors that no MBA would open. God gave him the future and hope, not what he had planned, but what his heart truly longed for. Eduardo evolved from someone who saw God as a blesser of human plans, to someone who trusts divine plans even when they contradict financial logic. He learned that obedience to God sometimes looks like human irresponsibility, but always results in eternal purpose. His identity changed from engineer who teaches to educator called by God. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29, verse 11. Sometimes, the future and hope we expect only comes when we stop trying to force our own plans and start trusting God's thoughts. What Dubai is God protecting you from accepting? What apparently good opportunity might be diverting you from God's best? Jeremiah 29, verse 11, is not a promise of ease, but of purpose. God knows the end of your story better than you know the middle. Will you trust His thoughts today, even when you don't understand the process?